Hello, welcome back to fromsoftserve. Today is a momentous occasion. Not really. Basically, Dark Souls Re-Remastered mod 0.92 is on Nexus now. Includes changes to Firelink Shrine, Sen's Fortress, Undead Burg, Darkroot Garden, Duke's Archives, a lot of the areas, Painted World. We'll check out some of them in this video. The one I'm most proud of is Duke's Archives, where, as you can tell with these little lantern things, I've added a point light manually for every single one in the map, which is crazy. But I've gotten really good at placing point lights, so it doesn't take like 17 years. But yeah, it adds a lot to the atmosphere, I think. Also, you'll notice I've done work on the actual, what draw param it uses for different areas and light scattering and fog. And that was all yesterday. I did nothing else other than Duke's Archives. It was pretty crazy. But I really like the look of it. Quite honestly, I think it's super contrasty and it's darker, but I don't know, it's moodier. It's spooky. And yeah, you can see the point lights render from very far away because I told them to basically just always render. Don't cull that. Don't mess with that. I gotta look at this texture again. I don't really like this texture. Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, I don't like the way that looks. I'm gonna revisit that one. Not a fan. Still got to look at the light scattering of but you can see how it gets foggier the closer it gets to Seath's area there, which does make sense. And yeah, let's traverse this way. I could just warp, but so one thing I still need to look at is the real, imported Londo meshes versus the fake one they had there. And it's pretty foggy currently. I think I doubled up the fog at some point, so I'm going to revisit that and see because it is meant to be foggy from up here. So I don't want to make it super clear looking when that's not the intention. There is supposed to be actual fog there. Oh, got it. Those point lights turn off, but I do that so you can't see them from the outside when you're near the trees and the greenery. Okay, well that's not ideal, but yeah, this is where I'm most proud. The point lights here and the mixture of the darker atmosphere. Oh my god, it's so works. It's such a vibe, And I got a little bit of specular on the floor. Let's get down to the floor there. Although I am noticing from up here, the object, basically the enemies and the objects function on a different layer in the player character as well, of how they look and how they respond to the different settings. So they function on the collision based. Whatever set in the collision that you're on, that light ID is what's used for the enemies and commonly the objects. But weirdly, I'm lit fine. They just look a little weird. But the closer you get to them, then they look fine, obviously. Strange. One of the many quirks of Dark Souls 1. It has a very rudimentary lighting setup, to be honest. It's not great. Ooh. Oh yeah, that goes back towards the front room. All right, let's just DSR gadget our way out of this shit. That's cell bonfire, balcony bonfire. Oh no, we don't want Nito. I don't want that smoke. Not right now. Also, yeah, 0.92 includes. I think that may be the last version. So basically, you don't need to install I basically archived I think the 3 patches that I had made. In the interim between 0.91 and 0.92, you could just download the patches for the updates I was doing. But I did a whole new version because I was actually making changes. So one thing I did do is I moved this texture here onto this balcony as well. Now it's not perfect because they use their light map was colored very differently, and they basically like blew out the highlights on this. So I need to look at that again so I can like align these two textures, because you can see there's a luminance difference, which is essentially done through the tone map settings of the minimum luminance. So it's brighter when you go outside, and then it gets darker when you go inside. It's kind of ham-fisted, but like that's how the tone mapping system works. And the real downfall of it, of course, is the fact that when you go out here, then it seems brighter in there when you're kind of like, well, okay. But that's how your eyes would see it, but not really, because when you look, it should still be dark. But it's one of the many things we just accept with Dark Souls 1. I can kind of mitigate it through certain elements of the lighting setup, but it's not easy. It's a difficult thing to balance, but I still think it looks great. I think for me, yeah, I gotta look at this floor again, because I want it to match up pretty perfectly, because I love how that looks with the bonfire illumination and then the actual like you know, reflection you're getting of the illumination from it on the floor. And because I looked at the MTD settings, because I was like, wait, why the fuck does it look different? It turns out it was the light map. The light map was basically coloring it separately. Power to the light maps. And so that's why they look a little different. But the actual MTD that these two are using is A17 something something crystal. It's actually using a crystal-based material setup for kind of the look of it, or at least that's just what they called it. I thought that was interesting. I thought it would be kind of like your standard floor related MTD, but it is not. So yeah, kind of spooky, kind of cool. And as you can see, I added like over 100 point lights. Actually, I just noticed that little goofy fucking looking thing. The hell? Yeah, it's another like exterior thing that texture UV mapping wasn't correct. Because I assumed it was supposed to look like the window up top there where my head is versus how that one looks. Interesting. I'm going to show in DS Map Studio how I made all of these point lights this quickly, as that's an absolute fuckload of point lights. And the way that you have to create them in DS1 is actually more complicated than it is in DS2 and DS3, where they centralize a lot of their point light controls, and duplicating them is super easy, and you don't have to make something else. But let's go into DS Map Studio real quick. Okay, you're noticing a little bit of a flicker there. Not loving that. Okay, so each one of these is a region point. So that's how DS1 differs from DS2 and DS3, where in DS1 you have to create a region point first. Then separately, each one of these is tied to a point light. But the point light is not visually represented anywhere. It is only created in your event listing over here, and you can name them anything you want. I personally kind of keep to the naming scheme that FromSoft used, where basically the name of the map piece is like M2137, and so you'll see PL and then M2071. So for map piece M2071, they're generally connected to that. But they don't, I've tested, you don't actually have to do that. They can be named Light 1, Point Light 1, Cheeseburger 5, like literally anything you want. And as long as you connect it to the region point that you want, and you can also name the region point whatever you want. I've learned that. These region points, once again, I kind of keep it to the FromSoft standards where I made these, and they're called SFX M2132, and then generally I start with just the one here, and then I'll show you how I duplicate a lot and not automate, but like make my life a lot easier. I've learned over time. And so the map piece that is here is actually 2141, but the bottom one is, well, that's 21. Okay, 2132 is somewhere around here. Yeah, I don't know. I remember which one it is. But so I mean, that's how you learn. The quick thing is it doesn't need to actually be the map piece that it is a part of, because it has nothing to do with the actual map piece, realistically. So when you like looking at this one, it's M2132. The map piece it's on is 2141, so it doesn't even matter. And then the point light is, you can click here, and this is where you tell it. This is the most important part. This is where you tell the point light, here's where you need to go, because you're telling it M2132, and then the Japanese symbol there, question mark, yada yada, 1, and then underscore 28, which is a perfect match for this region point here. So you basically just copy that. So you make your region points first, and I'll show you how I did those like in bulk, and then you create your point lights second. That's the recommended approach there, because then you can just copy the region point name from here, and when you make your point lights, you can just copy that and go, okay, cool, because you need to make sure that region point. Now the part name is, we're kind of getting in the weeds here, but I know you guys generally like that. I need to do more of that. The part name you'll see is empty. So by default, FromSoft would basically use the map piece that you want to connect it to. So you can, but basically what that does is if M2141 is being rendered, then this point light will be rendered. That's how you set that up, because there are sometimes you don't want that point light to be rendered. I ran into that yesterday. And so it uses these draw groups, which of course you can obviously change the draw groups if you want to make it render all the time, but I promise you in Duke's Archives that's going to create more issues, because the outside is not meant to be rendered at the same time as the inside, and I promise you I lost days of my life on that, if not more. But yeah, so you can actually connect it there if you want. So personally for this one, I like it to be rendered all the time, so you actually leave it empty, not 0, nothing like that. You actually leave it empty and it will just go, oh, okay, so we just render it all the time. Now I assume there's actually a system in the engine that isn't being shown here that, like, if you're 5 miles away, it's not actually going to render it, just for performance reasons. I would assume that's baked in, but like from a visible distance, it'll never turn off, at least that I found. But maybe, hey, maybe it does stay forever. I haven't personally tested that. Now the biggest time saver that I only figured out, well, I figured out multiple times and then I forgot it, and then I remembered it. But gladly during this I remembered it because I tested it. So here's the strange thing. You'll see event ID up here. Now my general thinking was, by looking at the point lights and all the different maps, is that as you surf through them, you will see the event ID consistently is unique for every point light, right? Well, I found that that is meaningless. Maybe on a map by map basis, but generally every time I've done it, it doesn't matter. So because I used to go in and like, okay, I gotta make sure that's unique for every single point light. And I'm making over 100 plus point lights, or 150 point lights at this point. Haha. But I quickly realized that I could just reuse the same one. So I stopped editing it. I just kept it at 242 and everything works just fine in game. So that's a time saver. So the other thing I do, if you want to, this was a unique case where like the point lights I needed to make were in the same horizontal area for the most part. They just needed to go up vertically for each level. So this was an area where basically on your bottom level, you need to create your region points and then manually place them on these lantern things. And so I went through and I manually placed them, because you obviously have your movement controls for any standard like 3D editor. And so I put them on each of the lanterns and placed them like, okay, got it. Made those, made the point lights for them. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? And generally that was like your default one here of like PL 2071, 32, 31, 30. And then what I would do is I would take one of them, duplicate that region point, go up to the next level, and get the verticality right. Get the vertical, the height, well, the height makes more sense, yeah. Get the height position right, which in this case was 295.53. And once I had that, I didn't need to adjust the X or the Z. It was literally just, or no, technically in this case it is the Z, not the Y. Yeah, in 3D space, the Z, the height. And so what I would do is like, okay, I got 295.53, so I would basically go through each one of these, duplicate, 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 and then I would just copy it. I would just paste in the new height that I wanted, and boom, done. Now, what I ended up doing on the last wall, because I was testing in previous times I did this, basically I would do that all the way through to the top layer here, and rinse and repeat. And then I had all my region points, but I hadn't made any point lights yet, at least for the top three. The bottom first level I did. So I created those point lights. And then what you can actually do is just grab, so basically what I would do is grab those original point lights, select them, and what you can do is select them and then hit Control D, and it will duplicate all of them, and then it will add the underscore 0001. Duplicate them again, it'll be 2, 3, and so on. And then all you need to do is go through each one of your point lights very quickly and make sure that the number matches here. And so it'd be 15 and 15. And then once you get into my copies that I started making, the only thing I needed to do between the two of them was actually the SFX21 and then copy and paste the 001. Because when you would duplicate them, it updates the name portion to be underscore 001 automatically. So I didn't need to change that. I just needed to copy the underscore 001 and then put it on the region name up here, because it doesn't automatically update the region name. When you're duplicating point lights, it's going to assume it's on the same region point, which is incorrect, but I understand why they don't automatically update the region point, because that could cause issues, and it would be for region points that don't exist yet. And so luckily in my case, I had already I already made region points. So that's how it's more complicated. DS2 and DS3, you don't need region points. The point light is the region point. And so it's just making that one thing and then copy, 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 copy. But, you know, this is more complicated, but kind of cool. Now for the actual point lights, you'll actually see that they use a point light ID of 9. And that's how you actually control what the fuck does the point light look like? What's the color? How big is it? And that's where you go into your actual draw params. And under M17, because once again we go by the actual map IDs, which Duke's Archives is M17, and they've all been burned into my brain. Of course, you can see the test ones. A lot of them you can't load, but there's Cathedral Ward 1. I always find that really funny. Cathedral Ward ended up in Bloodborne, obviously, but we go to M17 draw param here, and man, this is gonna be the most boring fucking video for some people, but I know for my fellow sickos out there, they're gonna be like, fuck yeah, man, this is awesome. So you go to the point light and you go to 9. So you'll see that I have it set the dwindle begin and dwindle end. That baffled me when I first started modding DS1, because I was like, what the fuck does that mean? That's got to be like flickering, right? Is dwindle. No, that's just range. So it's up to 5 and then 0.5 or 0. The difference between those is pretty minimal. Now, fun thing is, the player lantern is actually controlled through the very same param. And so if you ever go to your collision, which the DSR shortcut is normally to find the closest enemy, click on the enemy, and then go to the collision referenced down here. And that's the collision that it's actually standing on. And you'll see that lantern ID is set to 1. And if you go to the point light bank, ID 1, that is your player lantern. So you can adjust how much your character is illuminating around it. Obviously you have your RGB values, and then the alpha setting, of course, is not distance, but it is how much is that light going to affect the nearby area. So you do want to make sure it doesn't like blow out the nearby area and whatnot. So hopefully that was a really weird, wonky look at creating a shit ton of point lights and how that like functions in DS1 versus DS2, DS3. and kind of the wonkiness. So maybe, hopefully you learned something there. Let's go back to this and let's warp around a little bit because I have to remember everything that I did, because I think I updated Firelink Shrine visuals just a tad after I had posted the last patch. I made it slightly more visible, but it's very similar looking. I also plan on putting out like a reshade preset. Currently, I need to work on it more, because right now the only thing I'm actually using is the MXAO, which just adds this nice ambient occlusion, which admittedly it's doing it on top of the default ambient occlusion that is in the game, which I haven't disabled, but it just gives a little bit more extra depth to the scene. And if you're curious how much, this is the actual ambient occlusion that is being added just by the Immerse MXAO, which is made by Marty McFly, who also does the RTGI shader. He's a fucking legend. But you can see here how much ambient occlusion it's actually adding, and it's quite a bit. You can, and I've adjusted the distance, the fade out distance, how much ambient occlusion, the filter quality, and these are all things you could tweak to when I put out this little preset. But it adds a lot of depth to the scene over the default ambient occlusion, because the AO they were using back in 2018 when they did this was fine, but not particularly great. And MXAO specifically is one of the most efficient methods of ambient occlusion we've honestly ever seen. So pretty fantastic. But there's other things I'd like to mess with. The FGFX, large scale perceptual obscurance irradiance, is one of my favorite ones, where it actually makes certain things more visible, certain things more darker, based upon where the actual brightness is coming from. And so it makes your lighting a bit more realistic in most cases. Now it is tweakable, and I have been tweaking the effect intensity, the saturation and whatnot. But that is something I do want to include, because I think it's actually a pretty sick upgrade in most cases. But the good thing is users could just like fucking turn it off if they don't like it, or just not install the reshade preset. But it's literally just one check mark. It's like, yeah, all right, got it. But yeah, Firelink Shrine, pretty happy with it. Pretty fucking happy with it. Northern Undead Asylum. Yeah, there was some cool stuff in Northern Undead Asylum, actually. I was doing some material goofiness. Hey, what's up, dog? How's it going? It is nice having torches back. I'm loving that. I'm loving my life living through the shader overhaul. Oh, I added a torch here. I guess I had forgotten. So yeah, there's a torch there now. It was obviously in the unmodded game. I just fucking forgot. So yeah, I adjusted the actual MTD setting, or the material like setting for the stone inside here, because it was actually set to M9_glass, because they wanted like reflectivity, right? And the specular like wet look. But the weird thing is it didn't really, the light didn't really bounce around that much from the point lights that have been added back. So I changed it over to stone MTD, M4_stone, or M_4 stone. It's one of those. Too fast, too furious. I don't know. It's one of those. But yeah, the light actually bounces around a little bit better from the point lights now, which I found pretty snazzy. I think the biggest difference is actually up here, where you can really see the torches are able to kind of like spread their legs a little bit, and you get this really nice illumination that before was just being completely crushed by the MTD setting. It just would not display the illumination from it. But I'm really digging the spooky vibe here of Undead Asylum. I've done so much work. I've done so much work on this fucking game. It's crazy. I think I crossed like 1,400 hours in Dark Souls Remastered. It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. So I did the same MTD change down here. So you get this nice like illumination that you would not get previously. And like down here, same thing. This is a lot, it's filling the room a lot more naturally than it used to. And the bonfire as well. Like, honestly, that glass MTD was just not, it was not it. So I manually went in and changed that. But I'm really happy with really fucking happy with how I think Undead Asylum is currently looking. Like, I think it looks fucking awesome. And that's kind of what I'm doing, is going through and just tweak. It's kind of been an excuse for me to go back through and tweak areas because I've had to. After moving to the shader overhaul, it kind of fucked up some of my things that I had done previously. So it's not the blame of the shader overhaul. It's just that I had made changes that didn't end up working. Now, the fun thing is in the painted world is the rope bridge back here. If you actually ran like this far, it would despawn the rope bridge because of the draw group setup that it had. So I fixed that, obviously. I thought that was funny. I'm too good at noticing that, honestly. Oh, I added a torch here because I forgot that. Actually, I think this torch might not be lit in the unmodded game. I can't remember. I added one that was like not in the unmodded game, but it looked really cool, and it was just one, and I was like, all right. Because you can't add one here. I mean, technically I could. You know, I could adjust this, but there's no actual like torch, like wooden torch portion. But here you do, so. I thought it looked sick as fuck. Excuse my French. But the illumination, oh my god, it just looks so good. I'm like so happy with how the painted world's looking. Like the more visible, you know, clouds that are moving. Oh, it's such a vibe, man. And the illumination being back, I'm just so unbelievably happy with the painted world. It might be my favorite area to like be in because of the changes. And I added more torches that I had forgotten to add. Now, funny thing is, this actual floor and a lot of these surfaces in the painted world, I think I had said this in a previous video, but I went into the model files. And the funny thing is, because the painted world is actually the prototype for Dark Souls 1. It was after Demon Souls. This was the first thing they made for Dark Souls 1 to sort of like a proof of concept, right? And so the funny thing is, in the model files for Dark Souls Remastered, a lot of these had their normal map turned off, or more correctly, never turned on to begin with. And that's because the origin was the Prepare to Die edition. And from the Demon Souls development, that a lot of the surface didn't have normal maps or specular maps. They were very flat, and they were trying to save texture memory. So I turned on the bump mapping on stuff that didn't have it before, but it had a normal map. They all have specular maps and normal maps. They just forgot to enable some of them. So I fixed that. Let's see. Undead Berg Sunlight Altar. I think I slightly adjusted how Undead Berg looks. Just a bit. Also, if I'm a bit more nasally, it's because I'm still kind of fighting the COVID cold-related stuff. Yeah, pretty happy with Undead Berg as well. I think it's got a nice contrasty look. I think it looks very faithful to Undead Berg and green, and I think it holds up very well. I'm very happy, and I love that the slime has been back for a while. My added boxes are still there, like the added clutter. I actually thought the clutter looked pretty good, so I didn't remove that or anything. Yeah, I got to fix. There's a little hole in the big mountain texture here, so I do have to fix that. But really loving Undead Berg here. I think it's absolutely ace. We got our homeboy Solaire up in this bitch. I think he looks pretty good. I will say Undead Berg, I think, has a little bit. There's this weird thing going on in Undead Berg that I haven't quite figured out. There's like, it gets a little framey when I look down, and I don't really, and it's not all the time, but you'll notice a little kind of like, it gets a little framier. I don't know. It's minimal, and maybe it's just my computer. I don't know, but I thought I would mention it. It's something that's kind of happened. I'm like, I don't remember what I would have done. If anything, I've made the draw groups better. I fixed a lot of my previous mistakes of rendering things too far or too often, and actually, allow them to be kicked out. Let's go to Blight Town, because I think I brightened it a little bit from the last patch that I had put out, if I remember correctly. Just a tad. So it's still darker than the unmodded game, but you got a little bit of visibility going on. And the player lantern is very strong here, which I think is how it should be. And I'm loving the torches that are back. Fucking loving them. Oh my god, it's so nice. And you can see them from a great distance because I told them to render forever. And yeah. Oh yeah, I think I messed with Asylum a bit. Because I don't think I had made a video on every patch that I ended up doing. Oh yeah, New Londo ruins. I did work on New Londo just a tad. There were some bugs that were there. There was a big water issue that I had apparently created at some point. I changed the reflect height for one of the collisions, and let me tell you, it fucked up the water big time. But New Londo, spooky as fuck, which is canonical. And then, I think I said this in a video, but I added obviously all the lights back. And then now this is where I made a difference, that in the unmodded game, they had an SFX, just the torch SFX, which is a very specific one that's blue. And it had a little bit of illumination baked into that SFX. So it didn't need a point light. This map originally had no point lights at all. But what I did is I connected a point light to each one of them. So you get a little bit better and more realistic illumination from each one of them now. Which I actually think looks really good. And then the reflections that are due to the, technically not my mod, but it's a mod I link within my description, which is the Material Effect 1.0, which is from the Dark Souls Remastered visual overhaul mod. Basically, it's an upgraded material file. So that's why it's part of my instructions, because it's a really good material update. And it sets pretty much all of the water to be reflecting, where before it was just sometimes they would awkwardly not have water reflect for reasons, and presumably it's because of performance, because planar reflections are expensive. And to reflect the environment with a planar reflection, yeah, it's a little pricey. This is like before screen space reflections. I mean, they were around, but FromSoft doing them? No. And personally, I prefer planar reflections. They're more expensive than screen space ones, but they look better. So if you can do them, dear God, please. And FromSoft has been kind of the leading one that is still doing them. Well, to a point. Like, I think Elden Ring ended up using screen space on some of the larger ones, which makes sense with the vast open world. You kind of you have to make some cutbacks in some areas that it's just not feasible to render, because planar reflections, like, they will render the environment, but at like quarter res or half res, but it's obviously way more expensive than just a screen space method. But God, screen space looks like hot goddamn trash a lot of the time. A good cube map sometimes is preferred, but yeah, the reflections are pretty fucking sick, you know. Like, when you're walking around, it's quite the vibe when you can see the reflections in the water below you. Oh, damn, I didn't even notice that was a goddamn ghost. Oof. What's up, ghost? How's it going? But yeah, being able to look out into the Valley of the Drakes and see it reflected, like, oh, come on. So happy with how New Londo is looking. What else did I touch? I did a small thing in the kiln, but it's not really worth fucking looking at, to be honest with you. Tomb of the Giants, no, I ended up undoing a lot of I basically reset the MSB to default back in a recent patch, because it turns out I had fucked up a lot of stuff like months ago, and it was still working, but it was like with duct tape. So I ended up just resetting the MSB, because it's not about shadow casting in Tomb of the Giants. So I wasn't worried about losing my progress there. Let's see, Sense Fortress. Yeah, Sense Fortress had a couple things. I finally went in and fixed this texture here. This was one of the Dark Souls Remastered hard-coded, although you'll see the archway here I need to also fix. But this texture was lower resolution for no actual reason, because it was higher resolution, but the game was refusing to display it in high resolution. And that's one of its weird quirks, where it basically hard codes certain surfaces to look like shit. And there's not like a good reason for it, but I basically goofed the system by creating a different texture using the same texture, but naming it something different and then forcing it to use that. That bypasses it, and it's really stupid, but such is life. But yeah, so I did a little bit of tweaks to Sen's Fortress. I think it's a slightly warmer aesthetic, but it still has a little bit of a blue hue to it, which is what it's supposed to. And it's very moody looking. Very moody, inspired by Prepare to Die Edition, but at this point, because I'm using the Material Effect 1.4 mod for the updated material file, I'm using the shader overhaul. These are all things that affect how the game looks. And so I'm not flying blind, but I am adjusting the params, and I can't just copy from Prepare to Die or DSR. I have to sort of craft my own and trust my instincts of modding this game for over 1,000 hours of how to adjust things. And so this is the aesthetic that I have currently settled on for Sen's Fortress. I think it actually looks really good. It's not as bright as one of my versions in the past, but there's been so many iterations. But I think this is a generally faithful version, and you get the dynamic shadows, and the player lantern on the inside I think looks good. There's no flashbang going from outside to inside, but the inside still looks dark. There's so many things that go into making it not look like ass. And really, I never killed what's his face? Damn, all right. Hey, bitches. I also gave myself a plus 15 raw claymore, so we're gonna raw dog the iron golem right now, right here. Let me turn on the AI again. I use that cheat that turns off the AI. Funny thing is, I haven't been banned yet. Oh, Jabroni up top is getting a little pissy. That's fair. I won't kill him. I'll actually leave him alive so he can throw fucking boulders at me. So let's go fuck him up. Well, I will put my HUD on because I want to be able to heal and know where my fucking health is. All right. And we have a base Estus flask. This character doesn't have a lot of upgraded stuff. What's up, big dog? I gotta trust that's not gonna hit me. Yep. Nice. What's up, big dog? How you doing? How you doing? Yeah, go make your swing, big dog. Didn't get hit by the fire. Okay, well that fucking hurt. I'm gonna be real with you. Okay. Hey, boulder jabroni? Can you fucking settle down, dude? Okay. He's gonna miss me with that boulder. I wish you could damage the iron golem, you know? I gotta move. I gotta hook it. Damn it. Oh, do you only like throw it on one spot or something? It really seems like it. Oh my god, he fucking missed me? Yeah, I think Boulder Guy only throws it on like one area. Well, that's pretty helpful. Yeah, it seems like he mostly throws it there. Okay, well if I stay over here, I think I'm fine. I never realized that. I always just killed the Boulder Guy. That was just always my habit of like, well fuck, I'm just gonna go kill this bitch. If he's gonna be rude and fucking, yeah, I'm not gonna get you like that. I do enough damage though that like, I'm gonna wreck your ass this way. Oh, you're still sitting? The Iron Golem is using upscale textures based on the Prepare to Die textures, so looks pretty good. Hey, don't jump back that way. Get back this way. Oh man, the fire actually looks fucking. Okay. Well. Hey, spamming. I don't really need to heal, but I mean, hey, spamming. That's button mashing. What the? I've never seen you just get stuck in a guy. Okay, thank you. Fucking Miyazaki is hooking it live, being like, you know what? I'm gonna fuck this guy up. I'm gonna fuck him up. We're gonna get him to do that really cool ass move, to be honest. Hey, what's up, bro? I hope you like my color commentary. It's very cool. Oh, jeez. Oh, you're a little wobbly. Whoop. Sorry, big dog. Had to be done. Had to be done. Hey, fucking bitch ass. Okay, let me go get this guy. I gotta cut off the recording. I don't even know how long I've been recording. 6 hours? I don't know, maybe. I gotta edit it very, very minutely. It'd be funny if this is the guy that kills me. That'd be hilarious, dude. What's up, dude? How's it going? Yeah, kind of, you know, you're not wearing pants. I gotta be real with you. Not even underwear. You're kind of just like freeballing it, which I get it's kind of sunny and kind of probably humid, so I get that. Hey. Oh, okay, you died. Okay, that's fair. Yoink. Now we want a good view. Your balls are blocking my view. And I know out of context that seems weird to say, but it's true. Okay, I got rid of Ball Lord. Let's go to Londo and then end it on that. I'm not fully done modifying Londo, but I did take like a pass. Londo is so hard to get right because it's like, it's a fake sunlight. So there's a part of it that you kind of want there to be like an undertone of like, it's creepy. And there's a feeling of like, yeah, this shit doesn't feel right. This is too bright. This is too nice for Dark Souls. What the fuck's going on here? And that's kind of the vibe I think they want to evoke. Ah, those trees don't look that good. Damn. Oh, I need to adjust the cutscene draw param for this. And I think that should fix it. Londo looking pretty good, though. To be honest. Hey, let me land. Let me live my life, okay? Yeah, drop me off, big dog. Oh, okay, that fog looks a little shit ass over there, but I'll take a look at that. Whew, it's bright. How much does it match up to the actual? Okay, well, it looks better in-game. I prefer it looking better in-game. Yeah, this one's always been like that, where the light shafts cut off at this really awkward fucking spot. That's in the unmodded game, so I do need to look at that. But loving the shadows. The ultimate goal, obviously, and I've still been in contact with the shader overhaul creator, Altimore. The ultimate goal is to rebake the light maps. So all of the dynamic shadows I've been having to do, most all of them will then be done through a baked shadow, which I know people watching this will be like, yeah, but you're like the ultimate guy against baked shadows. Which is not true. I'm against old baked shadows because they don't age well. And so the dynamic ones looked better. So that's why I went for the dynamic ones. That was the option I had, you know. But when you do a baked one, you're not going to get as much shadow more. Performance is better. Frankly, you can make the shadows look better. You can bake them at a really great quality and realistic looking, where the dynamic shadows, you're kind of set to what they look like. You can change how dark or bright they are, but like their actual makeup and how sharp or more realistically soft, you can't really do that. So, oh man, that dude looks fucking sick in the Elite Knight armor. Love this bonfire room. It looks so good, dude. I'm also calling the viewers dudes, so hopefully I say dude, dudette, home slice, homie, big dog. Y'all are big dogs. FromSoft servers. Some people said FromSoft servants, and I was like, oof, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this video. There's a lot of, like, kind of nerding out over point lights and shit. Oh, also, I need to, like, reinstall my classic, well, not mine, but the part of the remaster or Dark Souls Remastered visual overhaul mod is they have a classic bonfire one you can drop in. It gives you the prepare to die bonfire. I need to go back to that. I uninstalled it at some point because I was like, oh, I want to make sure I don't copy that with my mod, yada yada yada. But anyway, thank you for watching. I do have a Patreon if you want to get ad-free versions of these videos, and it helps support the mod. And it's really cool. I also have merch linked in the description, which currently is a shirt and a mug and of the Ornstein pixel art by Pixel Haggle, an amazing pixel artist, just an artist in general. And so purchasing those, half the profits go to me, half the profits go to Pixel Haggle. Supports us both, supports artistry, supports my mod. And yeah, it's really cool. And subscribe if you haven't already. I'm closing in on 8,000, which is pretty fucking cool. And yeah, I'll see you on the next video. Thank you for watching.